Kaylie Juga was the pride of Bradford High School, a girl who excelled academically, was beloved by her peers, and brought honor to her family. By her side was Martis Fuller, a promising athlete, courteous, and treated like a son by Kay's family. Yet, behind the radiant smiles, in affectionate photos, subtle changes began to creep in unpredictable silences, questions laden with suspicion, making the atmosphere increasingly stifling. This quiet tension grew until it became an invisible wall separating the two. And then, on a May afternoon, 6 gunshots shattered the air, forever ending a vibrant youth. What turned a first love into a bloody revenge plot? Was it merely a broken romance? Or was there a darker reason? In May 2019, in Kenosha, Wisconsin, the Juga family lived a simple life like many other American families. Kaylie Juga, 15 years old, was a girl brimming with energy at Bradford High School. As a member of the varsity cheerleading team, Kay always shone at the school's major sporting events, her graceful movements and clear voice captivating the entire bleacher section. Kay was also known as an honor student, consistently ranking at the top of her class. She had an admirable ability to balance academics and athletics, demonstrating intelligence and discipline worthy of admiration. But what people remembered most about Kay was her distinctive laugh. It was a sound with a strange, infectious quality. Her laughter could light up a room, making everyone around her feel joyful. Friends often said that Kay's laugh could turn a bad day into a great one. In this colorful high school life, Kay met Martis Fuller, a 15-year-old boy her age. Martis was a standout athlete at the school, with promising talent in basketball and football. Tall, strong, with a confident smile and the calm demeanor of someone accustomed to the spotlight of the sports field. Martis was a natural star. After getting to know each other through shared school activities, the two gradually developed feelings and entered a romantic relationship. When Kay first brought Martis home, the Juga family welcomed him warmly. Stephanie and the other family members were impressed by Martis, a polite, responsible young man with clear plans for his college future. Martis quickly became an integral part of family activities. He was even invited to major holidays like Christmas, sitting at the dinner table as if he were an official member of the family. Everyone saw them as the ideal teenage couple, both talented, with bright futures, seemingly made for each other. But no one could have imagined that this seemingly perfect relationship was harboring the seeds of an impending tragedy. The early months of Kay and Martis's relationship were like a fairy tale. They were often seen together at school events, walking hand in hand through the hallways, eating lunch together in the cafeteria with their shared group of friends. Martis would wait for Kay after cheerleading practice, bringing a bottle of water and a small towel like a thoughtful boyfriend. The photos they posted together on social media garnered hundreds of likes and admiring comments from friends. But little by little, troubling signs began to appear, like dark clouds gathering over a clear sky. Martis gradually changed, his initial controlling behaviors disguised as care. He began demanding that Kay video call him constantly, even when she was doing homework. These calls felt more like check-ins than conversations, with Martis wanting to know every detail of what Kay was doing. The hours-long calls prevented Kay from focusing on her studies, and her grades started to slip. Whenever Kay texted her friends, her phone would buzz with a barrage of messages from Martis. He wanted to know who she was talking to, what the conversations were about, and why she wasn't responding to his messages immediately. At first, these questions made Kay feel cared for, but they soon became suffocating pressure. She had to constantly report her activities, from talking to friends to her time at home, as if she were under 247 surveillance. Stephanie, Kay's mother, began to notice unusual changes in her daughter. She saw Kay growing increasingly stressed, constantly checking her phone with a worried expression, as if waiting for an important message. During family movie nights, Kay could no longer focus, constantly responding to Martis's texts and calls. Stephanie gently reminded Martis several times that the family needed private time and that he could call back later. But Martis would only give a dismissive smile and continue his behavior. He seemed to disregard personal boundaries in family time, treating contact with Kay as an absolute priority above everything else. The situation grew more complicated as rumors began to spread like wildfire on social media. Kay's friends started sending her photos and messages, suggesting that Martis was having intimate conversations with other girls. Blurry, candid photos taken in the hallways and screenshots of Instagram messages all pointed to Martis possibly seeing another girl at school. Kay's heart broke when she saw this evidence. When she confronted Martis about the rumors, instead of explaining or apologizing, he cunningly turned the tables. Martis accused Kay of doing the same, claiming he knew she was texting other boys. He shouted, his face red with anger, turning the victim into the accused. These arguments became a toxic cycle with no apparent escape. Each time, rumors surfaced about Martis's involvement with someone else. He retaliated with similar accusations against Kay. The 15-year-old girl couldn't understand why a once sweet relationship had turned into a constant battle, with her always on the defensive. The breaking point came on a cold January day in the hallways of Bradford High School after class. Kay was packing up her books at her locker when Martis appeared like a shadow, his face full of anger and determination. As Kay tried to walk past, Martis blocked her path and grabbed her phone from her hand violently. Kay screamed, trying to wrestle her iPhone back from Martis. He held the phone high, using his height advantage to keep it out of her reach. Martis demanded to see who she was texting, claiming she was hiding something. The violent scene drew the attention of other students, and Kay's screams echoed through the hallway like an alarm bell. Fortunately, a school security officer quickly intervened in the dangerous situation. Martis reluctantly returned the phone to Kay, but his eyes still burned with hostility. He tried to dismiss it as a minor misunderstanding, but what everyone witnessed was unmistakable. This serious incident could not be ignored or downplayed. Bradford High School had strict policies on school violence and harassment, designed to protect all students. After a thorough investigation and hearing witness statements, the school administration summoned Martis and his family. The final decision was that Martis had to keep his distance from Kay, change his class schedule to avoid any contact, and was warned that any further violations would result in immediate expulsion. But Martis seemed to learn nothing from the first warning. He viewed the restriction from approaching Kay as an insult to his masculinity and sense of control. Just 1 month later, in frigid February, he brazenly violated the agreement. This time, Martis blocked Kay's path right outside the school gate after school, trying to force her to talk by gripping her arm tightly. This second violation crossed the school's threshold of tolerance. The administration had no choice but to expel Martis Fuller immediately. He was forced to leave Bradford High School and transfer to another school in the area, carrying a tarnished disciplinary record. For Kay, Martis's expulsion was both a relief and the beginning of a new kind of fear. She officially ended the toxic relationship, hoping to return to the normal life of a 15-year-old girl. but Martis refused to accept the end, viewing it as a declaration of war and determined not to let Kay escape his control. From a controlling boyfriend, Martis became a secret stalker with increasingly alarming behavior. He began lurking around Kay's house at various times of the day, observing the family's routine like a private detective. Stephanie often noticed a figure standing at the street corner, hiding behind parked cars or trees, always watching their house. When his main phone number was blocked, Martis became more cunning. He called from friends' numbers and created fake social media accounts, forcing Kay to constantly change her phone number and privacy settings. Each time, she thought she had escaped the harassment. A new message from an unfamiliar number would arrive with a familiar, threatening tone. This psychological pressure severely impacted every aspect of Kay's daily life. She had to quit her weekend job at a laundromat because she felt unsafe, fearing Martis might show up at any moment to confront or harm her. Her outings with friends were drastically limited due to the fear of being followed, causing her to become isolated and withdrawn. Deep inside, Martis's anger was simmering and festering like a ticking time bomb. He believed Kay had unforgivably ruined his life. Expulsion meant losing his chance at a college football scholarship, his reputation tarnished in the community, and his future suddenly uncertain in the distorted mind of a 15-year-old. All the blame fell on Kay. Thoughts of revenge began to form and grow in his mind like weeds. Martis started researching how to buy a gun, browsing the web for information on weapon shops and related laws. He boasted to friends about dealing with Kay, expressing his intent to kill her for ruining his life. Some friends dismissed these threats as the angry words of a teenager, but in reality, they were building toward a horrific plan no one could have anticipated. May 9, 2019 marked the tragic end of a teenage love story that had twisted into a deadly obsession. Martis Fuller had spent days meticulously planning his final act. Horizon Park, located across from the Juga family's home, became the ideal observation point. In the days prior, Martis had visited the park multiple times to monitor the family's routine. He knew exactly when only Kay and Stephanie would be home, when Tyler was at work, and when Mason was at school. The dense trees in the park provided perfect cover for the bicycle he prepared as his escape vehicle. Around 2:00 p.m. on the fateful day, Martis was driven by a friend to the area near Kay's house. He wore blue jeans, a gray hoodie, white sneakers, and carried a black backpack. He looked like any ordinary teenager, but inside the backpack were items prepared for a brutal plan. Doorbell cameras in the neighborhood captured footage of Martis riding his bicycle toward the Juga house. These recordings later became critical evidence, showing him moving calmly and purposefully. At Horizon Park, Martis executed the first step of his plan. He changed from his initial outfit into an all-black ensemble, pulling up his hood to obscure his face. This change was calculated to avoid recognition and facilitate his escape. He carefully hid his original clothes, ready to switch back after completing the plan. From the park, Martis stealthily approached the Juga house with the familiarity of someone who had once been part of the family. He used the garage entrance, which he knew how to open. What was once a sign of love and trust now became a deadly advantage. Inside the house, the atmosphere was calm as usual. Kay and Stephanie were enjoying a relaxed afternoon with music playing throughout the house. Kay was in her room, and Stephanie was in the bathroom, the sound of the hairdryer masking any unusual noises. Neither had any idea that death was creeping into their home. Martis moved through the house with chilling silence when he entered Kay's room. He committed his first brutal act. He shot Kay once, But in a frenzy, he didn't stop. He fired 4 more shots into her chest, then a final shot to her head. 6 shots in total took the life of the 15-year-old girl. Kay's screams and the sound of gunfire sent Stephanie into a panic. She rushed out of the bathroom and witnessed a scene beyond her worst nightmares. Her daughter lying motionless in a pool of blood, with Martis standing there, gun in hand. Stephanie begged Martis, pleading with him not to do this. But Martis, with a cold stare, replied that he had to. No hesitation, no remorse, only determination to carry out his revenge. Martis shot Stephanie twice, once in the arm and once in the chest, severely injured. She managed to escape to the bathroom and lock the door, with trembling hands, in pain. She called 911, reporting the tragedy unfolding. Martis remained in the house for exactly 3 minutes and 40 seconds, enough time to commit his brutal act, but not long enough to be caught. He then fled the scene, running out and changing back into his original clothes. At 3:04 p.m., surveillance cameras captured Martis leaving the area on his bicycle. He had reverted to his original appearance, jeans and gray hoodie, as if nothing had happened. The black outfit was hidden, and the gun would soon disappear from the police's reach. While Martis escaped through Kenosha's quiet streets, he left behind an irreparable tragedy. Kaylie Juga, the vibrant 15-year-old, was forever silenced. Stephanie was fighting for her life, struggling to survive to tell the truth about the tragedy. Stephanie Juga's 911 call at 3:02 p.m. on May 9th triggered an immediate emergency response from Kenosha's authorities. Within minutes, the sounds of ambulance and police sirens shattered the neighborhood's tranquility, turning the Juga family's home into the center of a murder investigation. When the first responders arrived, they were met with a heartbreaking scene. Despite her severe injuries from gunshot wounds to her arm and chest, Stephanie was still trying to perform CPR on her daughter. Blood was still flowing from her wounds, but a mother's instinct drove her to try to save Kay until the very last moment. However, all efforts were in vain. Kaylie Juga had died from 5 bullets piercing her small body. Stephanie was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, but before receiving medical care, she clearly identified the attacker, Martis Fuller. Stephanie's testimony became the first key in the investigation. Despite her severe injuries and shock, she provided critical details about the incident and the perpetrator's identity, giving police a clear direction from the earliest hours. Investigators began their meticulous work at the scene. They found 6 shell casings scattered in the house, primarily in Kay's room and nearby areas. The search expanded when they discovered a 7th casing under a console table, indicating the level of violence and the number of shots fired. Bloodstains on the staircase and an intact bullet found there revealed the victim's movements during the attack. Broken furniture from a damaged door was also documented and collected as evidence, reflecting the chaos and violence of the event. In Kay's room, investigators noted particularly striking details. A shell casing was found in front of her mirror, and another bullet was embedded in the wooden floor. The positioning of this evidence indicated that the final shot was fired at very close range, underscoring the deliberate and brutal nature of the killing. Expanding the search to the surrounding area, police found a similar bullet on the sidewalk near Horizon Park. This bullet may have been dropped by the perpetrator during his movements or preparations, further linking the crime scene to the park across the street. Neighborhood surveillance cameras provided valuable evidence. Footage showed Martis Fuller arriving at and leaving the scene at precise times, creating a clear timeline of his actions. These images not only confirmed his presence, but also demonstrated his careful preparation. The investigation reached a turning point when Martis's cousin, Anise Andrews, turned him into the police. After fleeing the scene, Martis went to his cousin's house and confessed his crime. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Anise convinced Martis to surrender and accompanied him to the police station. Testimony from a friend named Alexis also provided crucial evidence. Alexis confirmed meeting Martis near the scene around the time of the crime and noted that his shoes were unusually dirty, unlike their usual pristine condition. Finding the murder weapon became the top priority, thanks to information from Martis's cousin, Dantrell Seymour. Police recovered the gun from a storm drain in the Rhine area. This discovery was a critical breakthrough, providing direct physical evidence linking Martis to the crime. However, the black outfit Martis wore during the crime was never found. Despite extensive searches, his effective disposal or hiding of the clothing demonstrated the calculated nature of his plan. The evidence from the scene, combined with witness testimonies and surveillance footage, painted a complete picture of the crime. Every detail pointed to an undeniable conclusion. Martis Fuller had planned and executed the murder of Kaylie Juga and the attack on her mother. The investigation was ready to move to the next phase, bringing the perpetrator to court to face justice. The trial of Martis Fuller took place in May 2020, exactly 1 year after the tragedy that took Kaylie Juga's life. The Kenosha County Courthouse became the focus of the community, where justice would be served for a case that shocked the public. From the moment he appeared in court, Martis Fuller made a negative impression with his cold and unremorseful demeanor. He sat in the defendant's chair with a calm expression, showing no signs of regret for his brutal actions. This attitude not only infuriated the victim's family, but also left a lasting impression on the jury regarding his character. Fuller's behavior didn't stop at a lack of remorse. While awaiting trial, he committed serious violations of the judicial process. He attempted to contact relatives of the jurors through friends and family to influence the trial. This illegal interference forced the court to postpone the initial hearing to ensure fairness and transparency. When the trial officially began, Martis Fuller's defense team employed a strategy with 3 main arguments to reduce his charges or create reasonable doubt. The first argument questioned the reliability of the incriminating evidence. They argued that some witness testimonies, particularly Stephanie Juga's, were unreliable due to her severe psychological shock after being shot. The defense also challenged the police's handling of evidence at the scene, attempting to create gaps in the chain of evidence. The second argument didn't directly deny Fuller's actions, but sought to explain them by portraying him as a troubled and impulsive teenager. The defense emphasized that Fuller was only 15 at the time of the crime and acted under emotional distress after being expelled and breaking up with his girlfriend. This aimed to reduce the charge from first-degree murder to a lesser offense. The third argument claimed there was no concrete evidence that Fuller had meticulously planned to kill Kaylie Juga. They sought to separate his actions from premeditated murder, emphasizing that it was an impulsive act driven by frustration and anger. However, the prosecution forcefully countered every defense argument with compelling evidence and testimonies. The prosecution debunked the claim of impulsive action, presenting evidence of a meticulously planned crime. Specifically, Fuller had prepared a bag of clothes to change into after the crime and hid them in the park, while also disposing of the gun by throwing it into a drain. These actions demonstrated premeditation, not impulsiveness, to counter doubts about Stephanie Juga's testimony. The prosecution provided critical details. Her account was corroborated by forensic evidence, including the wounds and bullet positions, which matched her description of the events. More crucially, the prosecution highlighted Fuller's statement to Stephanie before shooting her, which was considered key evidence of his premeditated intent. The prosecution also presented testimony from Fuller's cousin, to whom he confessed after fleeing the scene. This directly refuted the defense's claims of insufficient evidence or impulsive action, showing Fuller was fully aware of his actions. Finally, the prosecution presented compelling evidence from the gun found in the drain. Forensic experts confirmed it was the weapon used to shoot both Kay and Stephanie, providing undeniable physical evidence linking Fuller to the crime. After carefully considering all evidence and testimonies, the jury reached a verdict. They fully accepted the prosecution's arguments and rejected all defense claims. Martis Fuller was sentenced to mandatory life imprisonment without the possibility of parole for the murder of Kaylie Juga. Sentences for attempted murder and theft were to be served concurrently but consecutively to the life sentence. Martis Fuller is currently serving his sentence at the Green Bay Correctional Institution in Wisconsin, where he will spend the rest of his youth paying for his brutal actions. The Fuller family still visits him regularly, trying to maintain a connection with their son, who caused an irreparable tragedy. The case left deep wounds that may never heal in the Juga family. 5 years after the tragedy, on what would have been Kay's 20th birthday, Stephanie shared her grief with the community. She said it felt like it had happened just yesterday, and time could not ease the pain of losing her beloved daughter. Kay is remembered by the Kenosha community as a joyful, vibrant girl whose laugh could light up a room. Her memory lives on not only in her family, but also in the hearts of countless friends and teachers who knew her. Kay's friends and cheerleading teammates organized a heartfelt memorial to honor her short but meaningful life. Initially, Bradford High School blocked the event due to concerns about its connection to 2 former students. After much community effort, the memorial was held, becoming an occasion for people to share beautiful memories of Kay. The Kenosha community remains stunned by the loss and the level of violence from a teenager once seen as full of promise. The case changed how many viewed teenage relationships and the importance of recognizing warning signs. The Juga family's tragedy serves as a painful reminder of the devastating consequences of toxic relationships and the dangerous escalation of controlling behavior, from incessant calls to checking messages to physical violence. It all led to an irreparable tragedy, the death of a promising 15-year-old girl and the endless pain of a broken family.